Let's see how we can calculate actual probabilities using the binomial distribution calculator in StatCrunch. So this question says, assume that when human resource managers are randomly selected, 59% say job applicants should follow up within 2 weeks. If 7 human resource managers are randomly selected, find the probability that at least 5 of them say job applicants should follow up within 2 weeks. So this is a binomial distribution because it fits the 4 criteria of a binomial distribution. The first criteria is that there's a fixed number of trials. There's a fixed number of people or things that we're going to ask a question to or observe in some way to see whether or not they had some characteristic. So in this case, we asked 7 human resource managers about this question regarding the applicants. 7 exactly, no more, no less. And once we finish asking those 7, we're done with the experiment. The second criteria is that each of the trials, meaning each of the 7 human resource managers in this case, has only 2 options. We call it success and failure. In this case, they only had 2 options for how they were going to respond. They could either say yes, that they do think an applicant should follow up within 2 weeks. We'll call that a success. Or they could say no, they don't think that the applicant should follow up within 2 weeks, so we'll call that a failure. But in any case, there's only 2 options. And those 2 options for those responses cover the entirety of all the possibilities. It's either yes or it's no. The third is that all the trials are independent. So that means that these different 7 people that we surveyed, they're not related to each other. They're not, they don't know each other. They're not influencing each other's responses. So we can assume here that they are all independent. So one person's response is not in any way influencing another person's response. And the last criteria is that the probability of a success, meaning the probability that any individual human resource manager here is going to say yes to this question, should be the same. And they told us here that we could assume that there was a 59% chance that any individual person our human resource managers would say yes to this question. So hence this is a binomial distribution. So to calculate probabilities, we can use StatCrunch, and it's going to be really easy and avoid any long or tedious calculations. So let's open StatCrunch by going to Get More Help, StatCrunch. So the binomial distribution calculator is going to be under Stat, Calculators, Binomial. So let's see if we can make this a little smaller so we can see everything together. Okay. So we are being asked here to fill in these pieces down here at the bottom. N is the total number of trials. So remember, the total number of trials here was 7 because we went out and we asked 7 human resource managers this question. So we're going to change the N to 7. P is the probability of a success. So in this case, the probability that any of these individual human resource managers would have said yes to the question about the applicants following up within 2 weeks. So they told us that the probability that that would happen, that there was a 59% chance. So the probability then is just that number as a decimal, so 0.59. And finally, it said we want to find the probability that at least 5 of the 7 say that job applicants should follow up. So let's think about what at least 5 is. At least 5 means that 5 is the least. So it means 5 or more than 5. So down here, we are going to change in this section this inequality to be a greater than or equal to, and we can leave the 5. That was just a coincidence that there was already a 5 there. So we want the probability that we'll get more than or equal to 5 responses that were a yes to this question. Notice I didn't even need to click anything. Everything automatically just updated for me. So the probability that we're looking for is right here. Notice here, if you needed to, there's all these different options. You could have had greater than or equal to. You could have had strictly greater than, which would mean more than 5, not including the 5. You could have equal to, exactly, or you could have less than or equal to. So there's all kinds of options there depending on what the question says. But in any case, once you're done filling those in, the probability will be here. So we're going to go ahead and copy that and paste it over here. And this said to round to 4 decimal places. So we want 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where that 3 is right here. The number that comes after the 3 is a 2. So that means we should round down, meaning leave the 3 as a 3. And that's it. So there is a 0.3983, meaning a 39.8% chance that 5 or more, at least 5 of these 7 human resource managers would say that they do think an applicant should follow up within 2 weeks.